That's the sound we are recreating in Serum today. If you like it, make sure to subscribe, press the notification bell so you see all of our videos, and hit like on the video. What's up guys, this is Tassian with Cymatics, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to make the lead from the Morten song called Fiyaa. So let's listen to the original and then we will play our version of the patch. Alright, so that is the original and this is our version of the patch. As always, the download of the preset and the MIDI is in the description, so I definitely suggest you guys downloading that and following along with us because it will definitely help a lot more than just watching and listening. But anyway, first thing we're going to do is hit Command-Shift-T to make a new MIDI track, open up Serum, and Option drag the original MIDI down to our patch. So now we should be hearing. Alright, so let's get into it. This patch is actually fairly easy, so it shouldn't really take that long. For this patch, we're going to be using only the sub oscillator and oscillator A. So let's turn on the sub oscillator and select the square wave, and we're going to drop this down an octave. And we're going to take the volume down to 20%. So let's listen to what we have. And then next thing we're going to do for oscillator A, we're actually going to be using a wavetable from the Jaws wavetables called Broken Axle. And we're going to drop this down an octave, turn the fine tuning to 6 cents. And we are going to turn the unison up to 7, so there are 7 voices playing. And we're going to take the detune down to 0.01. And then let's take the blend all the way up. So the out of tune voices are louder than the in tune voice. Also, before we go further, there is actually a different detuning mode that's being used. So normally when you go to global, the detune mode is linear, which means this. I'll turn the detune all the way up. You can see how all the voices are spaced out evenly. But we are going to use the detune mode called super. So you can see that as the voices spread out, like the inner 5 voices or 4 voices are all spaced evenly, but the outer 2 are wider than all of the inside ones. So we're going to leave that at super and go back to 0.01 with the blend all the way up. So now we should be hearing. Next, we are going to take the wavetable position to 10. And that is it for oscillator A. So we're only going to be using LFO1 to modulate 2 things. So this should be pretty simple. So let's get into that now. We are going to enable the trig mode and turn the rate up to 1/8. And let's make our shape. We're going to drag this point right around here and give it a little curve. Drag another point to right here. And then we're going to make our next point and drag it to somewhere around here. So it's 1 block over from the middle and about 2 blocks down from the top. And then we are going to give a little curve right here. So let's take this volume actually, we're going to drop this down a little bit to 60. And we're going to drag LFO1 onto the wavetable position and drag the range down to 49. So now we should be hearing. Alright. And before we forget, let's turn on mono and legato and turn the portamento up to around 22 milliseconds. This is so if there are any overlapping notes, they're not playing at the same time. And if they are overlapping, they will be gliding to each other. All right. So that is it for the oscillators. Now let's move on to the filter. For the filter, we are going to select MG low 12, and we are going to select oscillator A and the sub oscillator because we want it to affect the sub. We are going to set the cutoff to 580 and drag LFO1 onto the cutoff and drag the range to 44. And then we are going to bump the resonance up to 25 and take the pan to 60. So that's just going to give a little stereo effect. All right, so that is everything for the oscillator tab. Now let's move on to the effects. So our first effect is going to be an EQ. We'll drag this to the top. And this is going to be a low cut. So we are going to make the low cut frequency at 54 and drag the Q down to 40. So it is just a mellow roll-off. Our next effect is going to be the hyper and dimension, and this is just going to enhance our stereo space. So this is what it sounds like first off. So we're going to drag this to around 5 or 4%, the rate. We'll drag the detune up to around 49, and we'll leave the mix around 48, and we are going to take the unison down to 2. Then we are going to take the size of the dimension down to 18 and the mix up to 15. The next effect we're going to add is a distortion, and we're going to select diode 1. So we are going to select the post filter, and we are going to take this frequency down to 64 and drag this Q down to 0.01 and drag this to a high pass. And then we're going to take the drive and the mix to 50. So that's with it. It's pretty much just making it louder, adding some crunch, and kind of bringing out some harmonics. The next effect we're going to add is a compressor, and we are going to select the multiband, so it's an OTT style. So we're going to take the threshold up to -13.5, leave the ratio at 4, take the attack up to 160, so it's like letting that initial peak and transient in. And we're going to take this release down to 12.5, so as soon as the signal leaves the threshold, the compressor is stopping. And then we'll boost the gain up a little bit because we're going to lose a little bit of gain with this compression. And then next thing we're going to do is adjust these bands. So this is kind of acting like an EQ. We're going to drag the highs up to 135. 136 is good. Drags the mids down to 90. So we're boosting the highs, kind of taking away some mids and leaving the lows right there. And then we're going to take this mix down to 75. Next thing we're going to add is a chorus. And we're going to leave the rate at 0.08. The first delay will be at 1.2. The second delay will be at 2.7. So it's just adding a small delay underneath the sound and giving it a little bit more of a texture. Next thing we're going to do is take the feedback up to 57%. So it's like a normal delay. You would control the feedback. So it's just adding more and more delay. Then we're going to take the low pass filter all the way up, so it's not filtering out any of the delay frequencies. And we're going to take the dry wet down to 4. The last effect we're going to add is a reverb, and we're going to change this from hall to plate. Take the size down to 29, the pre-delay down to 0, so there is no time in between the start of the sound and the start of the reverb. We're going to take the low cut up to 34, the high cut up to 81. So the low cut will be cutting out some of those low muddy frequencies, and the high cut will be cutting out some of those harsh high frequencies. So you can just hear that like very faint mid reverb in the background. We're going to take the damp up to 67 and the width up to 100. And the width is really going to add that nice stereo effect. So basically right down the middle is, and it's not even right down the middle because it's still pretty wide, but that's where the synth is going to be. And with the width all the way down, you could hear, especially if you have headphones, that the reverb is very, very mono. It's like more mono than the actual synth. So we want to boost that width to give it an enhanced stereo space without like boosting the width of the actual synth. And then we're going to take the mix to 25%. And that is the final. And then let's listen to the original song. So a lot of this sound has to do with the master. This master is kind of slamming the song on the original. So our version is a lot cleaner just in this aspect because it's not going through a master and it's not fighting with any other elements of the song. But anyway, that is exactly how we make that sound. I really hope you guys downloaded and followed along, because it will definitely help you a lot more than just watching. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot, and I'm Tassion, and this is Cymatics.